consider approval of the minutes from the May meeting. I have a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Motion and a second.
I'll second.
All right. Motion second. All in favor of approving the meeting minutes from May meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Fine. All right. Good. And with that, we'll move on to Ms. Bartlett and the financials.
I think everyone should have gotten the May statements by email from Sherry. The hot tax from the first quarter is the income, and it isn't terrible, but you know, it is what it is. There is also, let me see, about 9,500 of that amount is arrears from Holiday Inn. They are apparently behind. And he actually got another payment for January from Holiday Inn in June. So those are continuing to kind of straggle in. Pam has no clue what to predict and how to predict them and all of that. So it's difficult. Everything else is pretty much straightforward. Any questions from anyone?
Okay, and I'm sure Sherry in her report will cover this, but we all know that these are special circumstances, special times, but it's not as bleak as it could be. There are some bright spots to it, but we'll get to that with her report. There are no further questions with financials. We'll move into the staff reports then. And Ms. Morgan, who's up first?
I think it's me, but we need to approve the financials, I believe.
Okay. All right. So I will entertain a motion to approve the financials as they have been stated.
I move.
Okay. Motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor of approving the financials, signify by saying aye.
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 All right.
Aye.
Now with that, we will move on to our wonderful staff of the CVB's reports.
Well, thank you all for joining us here this morning. Joanna is still out on medical leave. She had rotator cuff surgery, and we heard from her last night. She is doing her therapy, and she said it's painful, but it's a good kind of painful. So we anticipate her to be medically released back to work probably in the next couple of weeks. But it was a full scrape of her rotator cuff, or I don't know. I don't understand it. It was the whole.
Sherry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt, but am I the only one that's having trouble receiving it? It may just be my internet.
Everybody should try to mute themselves until they're ready to talk, because background noise gets picked up.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
I'm doing that too.
I'm sorry. That's not
Okay.
it.
Okay. So Joanna is working about an hour a day, just checking in, making sure that her emails are being addressed, and when she does need to make a phone call, but she's keeping up her communications, and that works out to be about an hour a day. So fortunately, this is a time when her particular portion of the work is light. So this was a good time for her to be able to take care of herself. We do have coming up on July 13th, we have our first post-COVID group that is coming in for a site visit. They're a group of vintage motorcyclists. Cannonball is the name of the event. And so Joanna does plan on being here for that to show them the different locations for their event. It's a small to mid-size event, but it's a good one to sort of get us back into the swing of hopefully what is more business to come. I additionally serve on the Nacogdoches Area United Way Board, and Chilnac, that's located on the corner of University and Main Street. They have a 8-foot by 20-foot storage container, refrigerated storage unit that is on their property. They have donated the long side of that, so the 8 by 20-foot section, as advertising space for the United Way. There is a tail end of that. It's an 8 foot by 8 foot square that faces University. So headed south on University, you would be able to see it, and it's a right read, meaning it's on the right-hand side, which is where the eye travels. And in marketing, that's, you want to right read. But they have donated that end piece to the CVB for a message, whether it's welcome to Nacogdoches or something about our Main Street. And they will pay for the vinyl wrap of that as well. So that is an opportunity that's been afforded us generously through the Gilbert family that owns Chilnac, and we are appreciative of that. So I'm working on that messaging right now for both the United Way and for us, so that it doesn't look like two separate messages necessarily, but that it's aesthetically pleasing as it sits there on that prestigious corner. So that's good. Chairman McLaren referenced our financial arrangement with the city. Cheryl gathered all the requested information from Pam Kerbo in the finance office for the city, and she now is in possession of that. And they are, she and interim city manager Chief Seavey and Jefferson Davis, the city attorney, are now going over that to come up with the specifics of a financial arrangement to present to city council, to come back to us with a formal offer of assistance. And from our conversations, what that in general will look like is allowing us more time to reimburse the city for our payroll costs. The specifics of that can look different ways. So we can, when it comes back to us after city council has an official offer, then that official offer will come before the CVB board to accept or negotiate or do whatever we want, and then vote to whether to either approve or graciously decline their very kind offer to help us out. The sole purpose is to make sure that we are not having to dip into our reserves to cover payroll cost. And if we are put in that position to dip into reserves, that we are doing so to market so that there is a return on any kind of investment of those funds. So we still are in the same place as we were for our last board meeting. We don't have an offer to discuss yet. It's, still very general, but the intent is to do what the city can do, because the city doesn't have a lot of money either, but what they can afford us is time, and put that on their books as a receivable and on our books as a payable. And then hopefully we can sort of negotiate how much of a debt we'll carry and for what length of time we will carry that. I had hoped that by today we would have the May Smith Travel Research Report. Typically that comes between the 17th and the 19th of the month, and it hasn't arrived yet, so it'll probably come in tomorrow. But when it does, I'll go ahead and forward that to you guys via email, and you can take a look at it. April, we had those numbers were 41% less than what we saw in April of 2019, and that's bad. That's certainly nothing that we wanted to see, but in light of everything being closed, only essential travel during that whole month of April, I really was expecting that to be in the high 60s, low 70s. So that it was just 41%, Mr. McLaren can echo that, it's bad, but it could have been a whole lot worse. We stand our CVB, I believe we're in our 7th week of being back open to the public. A lot of other visitor centers are just now opening up. And just yesterday, Palestine, one of our neighboring communities, they had to lay off all but their one full-time person. So this is really hitting a lot of communities differently. For us, we have been very fortunate, and we continue to see lots of visitors. Saturday before last, on Saturday alone, we had 70 visitors come through. We have a steady flow of visitors coming in through the week, and they are people that just want to get outside of the house. And so they'll wake up in Bryan College Station and, make it here by lunch and be able to walk downtown and go have lunch at the Fredonia or at Dolly's, but they are craving something other than their 4 walls or their community. Our messaging in our marketing efforts through Hancock and with Ashley in our social media has been stressing those our outdoor assets, our outdoor opportunities that we have in abundance. So as we look at sort of the intensity that COVID hit other destinations with, we weren't hit as harshly. And the recovery phase benefits us as well. So drive markets will be the first to recover. Well, we are solely a drive market destination, so that benefits us greatly. Communities and destinations with more outdoor assets are going to be among the first to recover. That's us as well. So it's several different indicators like that that have been forecasted to be among those first to recover in this, where we just happen to hit. And that's just because of who we are and what we've chosen to highlight to our guests and visitors. So cautiously optimistic about that. Your staff is doing a great job. I really want to brag on Mike and on Ashley. They are, these people that are coming in, they're coming in for day trips. Some of them are choosing to spend the night with us if they're, they like what they see and they want to stay another day, or but if there is such a thing as upselling a destination, then Mike and Ashley have been doing that just so gracefully and so graciously without it seeming like a hard push. But I know just, in the times that I've been passing by the front desk as they converse with the guests that are out there, they're selling our fall foliage. They're selling the Christmas celebration. They're selling the azalea season for next year. And the people are warmly receiving those messages. So that Mike and Ashley are doing an outstanding job of calming any fears that might be expressed by guests that are coming in and traveling, and really working on building relationships with people. And it's really neat to see, because again, they're doing it without it seeming, it's just so natural. And that's where they really excel. So be proud of your staff. And I believe that concludes my report.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Morgan. And yeah, and to echo that, on a national level, our industry, being the travel and tourism industry, was of course devastated. In many markets, it was over 90% down year over year in many major markets. Many of the major hotel chains corporately are still continue to this day laying off of their staff, and because they cannot recover without business travel. So it's the leisure, it's the tourism that is coming back, and we are right in that wheelhouse. So I'm very thankful for that. We've seen personally pick up at the Fredonia, and it's been a very small window. People have decided in Houston and Dallas that they're going to pick up and they're going to travel, and they're going to travel somewhere where they don't usually go, because that's where crowds are. And so we've picked up a lot of people who have experienced Nacogdoches for perhaps the first time and are very impressed with it. And by the indicators that we have, that will continue. So it's very encouraging, it's also important that we retain some funds to push and market and ride that the small crest of a wave that we have, and to ride it into to fruition for 2021 as well, and to capitalize on it. So I look forward to a proposal from the city council, and that I'm assuming at our next meeting that we'll analyze that. So does anyone have anything else this morning for us?
You know, it wouldn't be a CVB meeting if I didn't chime in. So I thank Sherry and the staff there for helping us weather this storm. I mean, we're all watching the news, as John said. This, this is nationwide, and a lot of people are a lot more devastated than us. I think that if we can get what we're asking, or what we're hoping to get from the city, and we can keep our boat afloat, that it will be like Sherry said. I already know people, my friends, who are interested in coming here for the sake of it being a socially distanced vacation on a day trip, not having to deal with any sort of organized travel, would just come here. They're probably going to stay with me and not in a hotel for the time being, but they're going to come here and they're going to spend money in restaurants and shops. And we're going to keep what we're doing, which is attracting people here alive, regardless of how long we have to endure this. So I'm hopeful and I'm grateful that we're still meeting and that we're still working and that we're still promoting Nacogdoches. Thanks.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Damon. Okay, with that, I would like to suggest our next meeting be July the 16th at 8:30 a.m.
I think Ashley has a report next.
Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Well, it's scheduled.
Oh my goodness, Ashley.
You don't want to hear from me?
The stage is yours. I apologize.
No, it's totally fine. I don't have a whole lot since it hasn't been very long since our last meeting, but as y'all know, we've mentioned we kind of put the brakes on advertising just to save as much money as possible, but we did have an offer that was pretty hard to refuse, to run an ad in Texas Farm and Home. And it was adjacent to a story about Nacogdoches, so we felt like we had to go ahead and do that one, and it wasn't too much. So we've run our first ad since quarantine and since the pandemic, so that's exciting. And a new development yesterday, I got a message from Country Magazine, which the lady who is emailing me is out of Milwaukee, and somebody there with that magazine knows all about Nacogdoches and mentioned things by name like Fortney Home and Nine Flags Coffee Roasters and the Arboretum, and they said that they're going to run a story on us and that they just wanted some pictures from us. They aren't charging us or anything like that. So I was like, heck yeah, I'll send you pictures. And so I sent them over some yesterday, but I was excited that somebody out of Milwaukee contacted us and knew things about Nacogdoches by name. So those are the two things that will be published this fall, and then we'll probably start doing some advertising for the fall foliage, since that is still aligned with the social distancing and outdoor stuff that we can do. So I'm just echoing the same sentiments that Sherry and John are saying, that it could be a lot worse. We're pretty fortunate that everything that we have is accessible and outdoors, and even if you're coming here for history, you can still just do a statue trail tour or the historical market tour. So we're very fortunate, and it makes our job a little bit easier. And with that, if you don't have any questions, just let me know.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mikey. I see Mikey there. You have something for us, Mikey?
I really don't have anything to add. Sherry pretty much covered. We've got a steady stream of folks coming in, and Ashley asked me, how does this compare to this time last year? And I said, well, I don't know, but let me look. And it's basically as well as we did last year. Of course, we didn't have Blueberry. We didn't have orientation. you can't count those kind of numbers. But as far as just walk-ins, it's very steady.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike.
I will add on the visitor center stuff right now, we are still working abbreviated hours. Junior Forum beginning in June started back with their volunteering on the weekend. So they're taking care of Saturdays. Starting in July, Mike just sent out the quarterly Climate Genius for volunteer shifts. So I encourage and gently remind board members that when you feel safe, that there is a stipulation in your agreement to serve on the board to volunteer with us in some way. But we do, we have an outstanding volunteer base, but our volunteer base are primarily made up outside of Junior Forum of people that fall into those higher risk categories. And we certainly want to be cautious with them, and we want to protect them and not to put them in harm's way. So we find ourselves in a position to do another push for volunteers in the community. And so if you could help us out with that, we've, just talk with your friends, if you're in any civic groups or, church groups or anything. The way that we're set up, it is safe as long as you're not in one of those higher risk categories that make you exceptionally vulnerable to things. But, we've got the counter and we've got some tape down, and we are encouraging the usage of masks, but not requiring them. So anyway, starting in July, we will open back up on Sunday, was what all of that was getting me around to saying. So in July, we will be back open 7 days a week.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. Now, does anyone have anything else to share with us? I think that is everything on the agenda now. Sorry for jumping the gun there. Well, then with that, I would like to designate or suggest to designate the next meeting for July the 16th at 8:30 a.m. If that is acceptable, then we will do that, and I will call this meeting to adjournment. Thank you, everybody, and we are gaining momentum there. And fingers crossed that we can continue this, and so I appreciate everybody's work at the CVB. They've done a great job weathering this storm. Most offices throughout the state were gutted and closed, to be quite honest, and so I'm glad that we still have a team working for us in our community. And thank Sherry and the staff, and y'all guys, Ashley and Mike, and fantastic job. Thank you once again, and we will see you all soon, either on this thing or person. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you used to say same bad time, same bad channel.
Yes, that's right. Tune in for more.
Y'all.